Once again, you are welcome to African Tales by Kama, and this is part 2 of this story, so do well to watch the part 1 if you have not done so. Thank you.
The ambulance moved quietly. Inside it, Isaac lay still. His body was weak, his eyes were half open, and the sound of siren felt far away like it was happening to someone else. His children sat close, holding his hands and afraid that if they let go, he might disappear. When they arrived at the private hospital, nurses rushed out immediately. The stretcher was rolled in quickly. Then Mr. Idowu stepped forward. The moment he saw Isaac clearly, he did not speak and he did not move. He just stood there staring at the man on the stretcher. The man who once stood behind the camera with quiet dignity and the man who had helped him where he had nothing. "This cannot be Isaac," he whispered. He moved closer. He saw the sunken eyes, the thin face, the lifeless hand, the body that looked like he had given up long ago, and tears filled his eyes. "This is not how I left him," he said in a broken voice. "This is not the man I knew." The children stood quietly, afraid to speak. Mr. Idowu turned sharply to the hospital staff. "I don't care what it cost," he said firmly, "and I don't care how long it takes. This man must leave." The nurses nodded. Isaac was rushed into the emergency room. Machines were connected to his body. Tubes were placed carefully. Blood pressure was checked again and again, and the doctor spoke in serious tones. "He is very weak. He had been neglected for a long time, but we will try." Mr. Idowu interrupted them. "No, you won't try. You will save him," he said. The doctors exchanged looks, then nodded. Isaac was admitted immediately. A private room was prepared. The best doctors were assigned. Drugs were ordered. Tests were run, and everything happened so fast. Mr. Idowu stood outside the room, pacing back and forth. He remembered that the years ago, how he had planned a big event, how things went wrong. He was embarrassed and desperate. Someone mentioned a photographer named Isaac, and when Isaac arrived, he heard the story and did not mock him. He did not raise his price either, and he did not threaten to leave. He only smiled and said, "Relationship is the highest currency. Pay me whenever you can." And that event opened doors for Mr. Idowu. That event changed his life. That event brought him success. And now, the same man was lying between life and death. "I searched for you," Mr. Idowu whispered. "I tried to find you. And when I finally did, this is what I found." He wiped his tears. "Over my dead body will you die." Inside the room, Isaac's body reacted slowly to treatment. His breathing steadied a little. His heart rate reduced slightly and his eyes fluttered. One of the doctors came out and said carefully, "He's responding. It will not be easy, but there is hope." That word hope sounded heavy in the air. Mr. Idowu sank into a chair and covered his face. The children watched everything with wide eyes. They had never seen this kind of care before, and they had never seen anyone fight so hard for their father. That night, Isaac slept in a clean sheet for the first time in a long while. No flies, no smell, and no neglect. Just quiet machines and watchful nurses. The next morning, as he opened his eyes slowly, the room was bright, clean, and silent. A nurse noticed his movements. "He's awake," she called. Mr. Idowu rushed in. When Isaac's eyes met his, something changed. He tried to smile. Tears rolled down his face instead. Mr. Idowu held his hand. "Isaac, you saved my face years ago," he said. "Today, I am paying you because this is when I can afford to pay, as you said." He asked the nurses if he needed to pay for something else because he didn't want any excuse at all. 3 days later, Isaac started getting better. Not fast, but clearly. The doctor said it was a good sign. His blood pressure was coming down. His breathing was steadier and he could now sit up for longer hours, sometimes with help. Everyone was hopeful. One afternoon, as his children came from school to see him, Isaac turned his head slowly. He looked at them. For days he had wanted to ask one question, but he had been afraid of the answer. Finally, he spoke. "Where is your mother?" The children froze. They looked at each other. They looked at the floor and they did not answer. Isaac noticed immediately. "Your mother," he repeated gently. "Is she fine?" The children nodded quickly. "Yes, Daddy, she's fine." Isaac closed his eyes briefly. He took a deep breath. After a moment, he asked another question. "Is she still with that man?" The room became very quiet. The children shifted uncomfortably. They did not answer. Isaac opened his eyes. He looked at them carefully. "Why are you quiet?" he asked. Still, no answer. Isaac's heart began to beat faster. He could feel it in his chest. And then he said in the softest tone they had ever heard him speak, "If you love your father, you will tell me the truth." The words hung in the air. The eldest child stood up slowly and said he wanted to go pee, but his father asked him to sit and pee right there. He had no option than to spill. "She's still with him." Immediately, Isaac's face changed. "And do they still lock the door?" he asked. The children nodded. "Yes, Daddy." Isaac swallowed hard. "Do people know?" he asked again. "Yes," another child answered. "Some people know." Isaac tried to speak again, but no sound came out. His breathing became faster. The machine beside him began to peep louder. "Daddy," one of the children called. Isaac's hand shook violently. Suddenly, his face tightened and he grabbed his chest weakly. "Daddy!" the children shouted and the nurse had to rush in. "What happened?" she asked urgently. Isaac tried to speak, but his mouth twisted. His eyes rolled slightly and his body stiffened. The nurse quickly pressed the emergency button. The doctor rushed in. "His blood pressure is rising and he's crashing," the nurse said. The children were pushed gently out of the room. They stood in the hallway shaking and crying. "But why does Daddy love Mommy so well, even when she's not worth it?" one asked. Inside the room, doctors worked quickly. Oxygen was increased and drugs were administered. Mr. Idowu arrived just in time. "What happened?" he asked sharply. "The patients received emotional shock," a nurse explained. "It triggered a setback." Mr. Idowu prayed a silent prayer, and after a long while, the beeping slowed. Isaac stabilized, but barely. The doctor stepped out. "He's alive," he said, "but this is serious. Emotional stress can kill him if it continues." Mr. Idowu nodded grimly. "No one will upset him again," he said. Inside the room, Isaac lay still. Tears rolled gently from his eyes. The pain he had tried to forget had returned suddenly and stronger than before. The betrayer was still alive, and now he knew it had not stopped. The children got in later. They stood quietly by his bed and whispered, "We are sorry, Daddy." Isaac blinked slowly. He managed to squeeze their fingers. "It is not your fault," he said weakly, but his body knew the truth before his mouth did. He would rather die than watch or hear another man sleep with his wife. One afternoon, as sunlight entered the hospital room, he turned his head towards his children. They were sitting close to him, whispering to each other. He watched them for a long time. Then he asked quietly, "Has your mother come?" The children froze. "Daddy, please, you don't need all of this now. Get well first." He asked again, "Has my wife come? Or is she not aware that I've been admitted here?" "No, Daddy, she has not come and she's fully aware you are here, sir," one of them replied gently. Isaac said nothing else. That night, he did not sleep well. His eyes stayed open for hours, fixed on the door. The next day, he asked again when the children returned, "Is she coming?" The children shook their heads. "No, Daddy." Isaac turned his face away. Still, everyone believed time would fix it. After all, she might be scared and may come later. Isaac believed this as well because no matter how badly someone hurts you, love still makes excuses for them. After waiting for a full 1 month, Isaac stopped asking questions. He lost hope, and when food was brought to him, he would turn his face away and he stopped responding to his physiotherapist. He would always say, I will try later, but that later never came. Mr. Dawood noticed first. This man is withdrawing, he told the doctor. He is giving up. The doctor agreed. Physically, he can still improve, the doctor said, but emotionally, he has shut down. Isaac, on his part, waited. Every morning, he looked at the door. Every afternoon, he listened for footsteps, and every evening, he hoped, but Carol never showed up. No call, no message, and no visits. One evening, Mr. Idowu sat beside him. Isaac, he said gently, you need to fight. Isaac smiled weakly. What am I fighting for? He asked. Those words scared everyone. The children cried. Daddy, please, they begged. Please try. Don't leave us in this wicked world alone. Isaac looked at them with love. My children, he whispered. I am tired. Mr. Dowu stood outside helpless. Money could pay for drugs. Influence could bring in the best doctors, but no one could force a broken heart to heal. And Carol on her part slept peacefully. She didn't know that the man who once gave everything for her was slowly slipping away, not because of sickness, but because love finally broke him. The next morning, Isaac asked to be left alone with Mr. Idowu. Mr. Idowu noticed immediately. Isaac's eyes were calm. It was the calm of a man who had made peace with something heavy. For a moment, Isaac just breathed slowly as if gathering the last strength inside him. Then he spoke. Sir, I don't think I will make it. Mr. Idowu shook his head quickly. No, don't say that. You are strong. You are getting better as well, can't you see? Isaac smiled faintly. I know my body, he said. Isaac, please, don't give up on yourself so soon, Mr. Dowu said, almost crying. Mr. Isaac swallowed hard and then he continued. Please, take care of my children. Mr. Dowu's chest tightened. They are all I have. I want them to go to school. I want them to be graduates and I don't want them to suffer. His voice was shaking now. Promise me you will do that for me. Mr. Adowu nodded immediately. I promise you, they will go to school. All of them. They will become graduates and I will take care of them like my own. Isaac closed his eyes briefly. Thank you, he whispered. Then he asked for his children. They were brought in quietly. They stood around the bed afraid. They could feel it too. Isaac looked at them one by one. My children, he said slowly. Listen to me. They nodded, crying already. Be good, he said. Love one another. Respect yourselves. No matter what happens, choose kindness, but don't allow anyone to destroy you and don't be like your father who loved foolishly. He paused, breathing heavily. Education is your way forward, he continued. No matter how hard it gets, don't stop and please don't erase God from the equation. He lifted his weak hand slightly and placed it on their heads. He blessed them. He prayed quietly and spoke words only heaven heard. The children cried loudly. Daddy, don't go, they begged. Isaac looked at them with so much love that hurt to watch. I will always be with you, he said, just not in the way you see. His breathing slowed. He looked once more at Mr. Adowu, then exhaled. He did not inhale again. The machines went quiet. The nurses rushed in. The doctor checked quickly and then he bowed his head. "He's gone," he announced. The room exploded with cries. The children screamed. They held onto their father's body. They cried until their voices broke. Mr. Idowu stood there with tears streaming down his face. Isaac was gone, not because he was weak, not because help came late, but because love drained him completely. Later that day, the children sat quietly. Something else replaced them. Hatred. Not loud hatred and not violent hatred, but hatred without forgiveness. Hatred for the woman who abandoned their father. Hatred for the woman who never came. And hatred for the woman who loved another man while their father was dying. As far as they were concerned, she no longer existed. 2 weeks later, Isaac was buried in the village. The children stood close to Mr. Idowu. They were dressed in black. Their eyes were swollen from crying. And Carol arrived. She stepped out of the car slowly, dressed in black, trying to look sorrowful. She wiped her eyes with a handkerchief, even though no tears came out. The moment the villagers saw her, murmuring began. "That is her. That is the wife who abandoned him." The kinsmen did not greet her, and no one offered her a seat. An elderly man stood up, leaning on his walking stick. "Woman," he said loudly, "where were you when this man was alive?" Carol opened her mouth to speak, but another elder caught him. "You sent him away like useless luggage. You brought shame into his house, and you brought another man into his home." Carol trembled. The elders pronounced words that carried weight. "As you refuse in peace and life," one elder said, "may peace refuse you. As you made his children cry," another added, "may joy be far from you. And as you thought you were smart," another elder said, "may your wisdom turn against you." Carol fell to her knees. She cried out, but no one helped her. The children stood still. They did not go near her, and they did not even look at her. To them, the woman kneeling on the ground was a stranger. Isaac was lowered into the ground, and Carol was escorted away in shame. When they returned to Lagos, Mr. Idowu kept his word. He took the children home. His house was quiet and big, clean and peaceful. His family lived abroad, and he only comes to Nigeria for business once in 3 months. The children had space. They had food and they had safety. They were enrolled in new schools where no one knew their past. At first, they were quiet. They struggled and they woke up crying sometimes, but slowly they began to heal. Mr. Idowu watched them grow. He paid school fees in time and he encouraged them. The children appreciated him and they promised themselves something silently. They would never grow up to be like their mother. They will never abandon goodness and they will never repay love with cruelty. Months later, Carol's life changed completely. At first, Carol thought everything would still work out for her. She told herself that Isaac was gone. The children were gone and life would soon return to normal. She believed she was too smart to end up badly. After all, she had always landed on her feet. But this time, the ground moved away. The first thing that left her was Maru. At first, he reduced his calls. Then he stopped visiting and finally he disappeared completely. Carol noticed the change but pretended not to care. She told herself men always behaved like that. Still, she tried to reach him. She sent messages and she called him repeatedly, all to no avail because Maru had moved on. He found a more sophisticated sugar mommy with money, with class, with no drama and with no bad name following her. The small savings she had disappeared. Neighbors who once smiled at her now avoided her. Even greeting her became difficult for them. Bills began to pile up. Rent became a problem. Even feeding became a huge problem. Carol had never known hunger like this. Eventually, she swallowed her pride. She borrowed a small amount of money and decided to start selling pure water. It was not what she imagined for herself, but she had no choice. She bought a bag of sachet water and stood by the roadside close to traffic. Every morning she woke up early, carried a bowl of pure water on her head, and went to stand under the sun shouting, "Pure water! Cold pure water here?" Other women sold very well. Some sold 15 bags in one day. But Carol, people passed her. Sometimes drivers looked at her and quickly looked away. Some rolled up their windows when they saw her approaching. Others bought from the next seller even when she was closer. From morning to evening, she struggled to sell just one bag of pure water. Her legs ached, her back burned, and her throat hurt from shouting. Still, nothing changed. She returned home every evening tired, frustrated, and angry. She counted the little money she made and shook her head. "This is not my life," she muttered again and again. At night, she could not sleep. Memories came back without permission. She remembered the days Isaac returned home late, tired but peaceful. She remembered how he never failed to drop money for food, how he paid school fees, and how he asked for peace and got betrayal. Now, peace had refused her. Sometimes she sat on her bed and cried quietly. Sometimes she stared into space for hours, and other times she talked to herself, arguing with nobody. The worst part was the children. They never called, they never visited, and they never asked after her. It was as if she had been erased from their lives. One evening, as she dragged herself home, she sat on the floor and cried openly for the first time. Her body shook with sobs. What have I done to myself? What was I even thinking? That man loved me to a fault, but I betrayed him. In fact, he's in the grave today because of me. She cried and cried until she slept off there. Soon, her body could not keep up anymore. Every day she woke up early to stand by the road, and every day she returned home late with little or nothing. The stress became too much. She stopped sleeping well. Her head ached constantly and her body felt weak. One morning, as she stood by the traffic selling pure water, the world suddenly began to spin. Her legs shook and her eyes became dark. Before she knew what was happening, she collapsed by the roadside. People gathered around her. "Madam, are you okay?" someone asked. She could not hear them properly. They poured water on her face and helped her sit down. Someone said she should rest. Another said she should go home, but home was no longer safe. Carol became sick, not the kind of sickness you recover from easily, the kind that drains you, and makes even standing difficult. She could not go out to sell again. She could not shout by the traffic, and she could not hustle. Days passed. No money came in. Rent became overdue, and at first the landlord warned her politely. She begged him to wait. She promised. She cried, and she explained that she was sick. The landlord waited for a while. Then one morning he came with other men. "Madam, you have to leave," he said firmly. Carol knelt down. She begged. She cried loudly, but no one listened. Her things were pushed outside, and that was how she was ejected from the house. She sat by the roadside staring at her things, weak and sick. Neighbors passed. Some looked away. Some shook their heads, but no one offered help. That was the day Carol truly became homeless. For nights, she slept outside. She saw people who bought the household items for almost no amounts. Eventually, she found her way under a bridge. The bridge was cold, dirty, smelling, and dangerous, but it became her shelter. At night, she listened to the sound of vehicles passing above her. The noise never stopped. Mosquitoes bit her freely, and hunger twisted her stomach. Sometimes she begged passers-by, "Please help me." Some dropped, while most ignored her. One night, as rain fell heavily, Carol sat under the bridge shaking. Her body was weak and her heart was tired. She lifted her face to the sky. "Death," she whispered. "Please come and take me, oh." But death did not come. She lived, and that became the punishment. Sometimes she imagined death answering her, "No, madam, You are not yet my candidate. Suffer for all your sins. I will revisit your case in 10 years. In our quiet moments, one thought hurt her more than any other thing. Her children. She wanted to see them. She wanted to touch them and she wanted to beg them, but she didn't have their contacts and she didn't know their whereabouts. She remembered how they once obeyed her, how they once lied for her, and how they once called her mommy with love. And that was when she finally understood that some sins do not kill you quickly, they keep you alive to remember. The children on their part were doing very well. Time had been kind to them. Under Mr. Idobu's care, their lives slowly changed and they became confident. People around them often said, these children are different, and it was true. They were different because pain had taught them early what love should look like and what it should never become. One night, something strange happened. They all had the same dream. In the dream, their father Isaac appeared to them. He did not look sick and he did not look weak. He looked strong, peaceful, and whole. He smiled at them. My children, he said gently, you are doing so well and I am happy. They ran to him in the dream crying. Daddy, they said, we miss you. Isaac said to them, I am proud of you, but there is one thing you must do. They listened closely. Go and look for your mother, he said. The children froze. Daddy, they whispered. Isaac raised his hand. Hey, it is for your own good, so your hearts will be free. When they woke up, they were shaking. They sat together and talked. We all saw the same thing, one of them said. They were afraid and they were also confused, but they remembered something. They still knew their mother's phone number. With trembling hands, they dialed it. It rang. Then surprisingly, Carol answered weakly. The children went quiet. Mommy, one of them said. There was silence on the other end. Then Carol screamed and cried uncontrollably. My children, she shouted. Where are you? Where have you been? Please, I need to see you. If that's the only thing you can do for me, I will really appreciate it. They agreed to meet her, and when they arrived at the place they were told, their hearts broke. Their mother was barely recognizable. Thin, dirty, weak, and living under a bridge. They stood there stunned. Carol rushed towards them and fell on her knees. She begged, she cried, and she held their legs. I am sorry. The children did not hug her. They simply looked at her, brought her money, and gave it to her quietly. Mommy, the eldest said calmly, this is all we can do. They begged her too. Please, they said, don't call us and don't look for us because we are not ready. They explained gently that they could not take her in, and Carol cried louder, but the children had already decided. They turned and walked away. That was the last time they saw her. Till today, Carol is still under the bridge, still begging, still sick, still lonely, and her life had moved from bad to worse. She waits every day, waiting for the day death will finally remember her. Hey, African Tales by Karma Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. I hope you learned one or two things from episode 1 down to episode 2 as much as I did. Before I leave today, I would like to say this. This story carries many lessons, and here are 4 of the strongest lessons. Love is not meant to destroy anyone. Love is not suffering in silence. Love is not enduring disrespect because you are afraid of conflicts. And love is not staying where your dignity, health, and peace are slowly destroyed. If you are in a relationship where you are always the one adjusting, always forgiving, always explaining, and always hurting, please understand that you are not being loving, you are being consumed. Love should stretch you. Oh yes, but it should never erase you. To those who are being mistreated, Don't wait until your body breaks before you speak out. Don't wait until your spirit dies before you seek help. And there is practically no shame, not at all, in walking away from what is killing you slowly. To those who hurt others and hide under charm, lies, or public image, I want you to know that life keeps records and you must reap whatever you are dishing out. You may escape judgment from people, but you will never escape the results of your choices. Finally, to parents and couples, your children are watching you more than you think. The way you treat your spouse becomes their idea of love, and the pain you ignore today may become the trauma they carry tomorrow. A word is enough for the wise. Please give the story a thumbs up, share out to your loved ones, and I will also like to read your thoughts about the story in the comment section. As usual, I'll be responding to every one of it. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly punch on that subscribe button so that you can join the Karma tribe free of charge. Until I bring the next interesting story your way, it is a goodbye from here, and God bless you.